Today on TWnewsmaker, we're speaking to Kane Pirie, the Managing Director of Travel Republic. In the last 5 years, Kane has established his online travel agency as one of the fastest growing companies in the UK travel industry. But he's also been embroiled in a high-profile court case with the Civil Aviation Authority over consumer financial protection. Kane, it's been quite 5 years for you since you joined the travel industry. You're running the fastest growing company in the UK at one point, but you also spent a lot of time in court. The last 5 years, has it been a real roller coaster ride for you?
Yeah, they've been very busy 5 years. The company's gone through a very high growth phase. We doubled year on year for 3 years. We won the Fast Track 100 in 2007, but also in 2007 was the start of quite a long drawn-out dispute with the Civil Aviation Authority.
How has that affected your company and the directors and the staff working for you, and of course yourself, because you were up on a personal charge?
Yeah, I think the whole thing was quite a distraction for me and the other directors, so that was unwelcome, particularly in the current economic climate. It caused some uncertainty for the staff, which was obviously, again, not welcome, because some of them understood the issue, others didn't understand it in detail. Happily, we were acquitted on all charges, so basically our position was vindicated, but it did put a lot of pressure on me, the other directors and the company.
You've always felt that Travel Republic has been acting within the laws as you understood them, but I think you also believe there's now a need for ATOL reform. What is your view? What is the answer?
Well, I think there's this great obsession within the industry about consumer protection. I actually think it's quite an unhealthy obsession. I don't think it's reflected by the general public. I don't think they have the same interest in the issue. And I actually believe there's quite a strong level of financial protection already in place through chargeback protection on debit and credit cards. I think a lot of people still don't understand that the chargeback protection that's on credit cards under law is also on the debit cards. So that is actually quite a strong form of protection. If you don't get what you paid for, you can claim it back and you get a refund.
Kane, you spoke recently at the ABTA Travel Convention about financial protection, and I think it was suggested there by some in the audience that the CAA have perhaps been the problem rather than the solution to all of this. What's your view on that?
It's not often that I feel sorry for the Civil Aviation Authority, but they have come under a lot of fire over the pace of change in the ATOL reforms. But I don't actually think you can hold them solely responsible for that. It's not actually their decision how the law changes or indeed when the law changes.
One of the other suggestions that we heard was for a separate repatriation scheme. Do you think that's a good idea?
I think that's a really good idea. I think that the whole issue of consumer protection is quite complex, and if you can just break off one part of it and solve that through a small levy on all flights paying into repatriation fund, I think that'd be fantastic.
And we also heard a suggestion for self-regulation. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, I hope that over the next few months, ABTA will really take a lead in partnership with the Civil Aviation Authority in trying to make sure that if there are changes in regulation, they're positive changes for the whole industry. And as far as possible, that ABTA can self-regulate with its members, and that should mean the variant of Flight Plus that actually comes in is the right one.
We've recently heard the CA talk quite openly, in fact, about the need to hurry through Flight Plus because they desperately need to plug the hole in the Air Travel Trust Fund. Is that something that you agree with?
Well, I think I was quite surprised by how frank they've been in some of their recent statements on that point. Personally, I question whether that's morally right, that agents are basically asked to pick up the bill for failed tour operators and deficit in the Air Travel Trust Fund. But realistically, my understanding is some form of Flight Plus is coming in, so the focus has to be on making sure it's the right variant, and critically a variant that allows agents to carry on being agents.
You've recently joined the ABTA board, Kane. What do you think you're going to bring to ABTA?
I'm really pleased to be joining the board of ABTA. I think it's a very interesting time for the industry, and particularly with the consumer protection debate at the moment. I'm looking forward to being involved in those conversations.
Let's move away from financial protection and talk about the wider industry. And so one of the recent developments has been, of course, the merger of Thomas Cook and the Co-op. What's your take on that?
I think that's quite an interesting deal. It reminds me a little bit of the Med Hotels deal, where Thomas Cook seems to be buying out a competitor at quite an attractive price. I suspect that's really their main motivation for doing the deal. I'm not sure it has a great deal of impact for us as an online agent.
Okay, so with that in mind, what has the next 12 months got in store for Travel Republic?
Well, I think it's going to be very interesting times, quite difficult times, not just for the next 12 months, but for the next 5 years. And obviously our job is to try to grow the business as well as we can over that period. And we're looking at a range of things in the UK, also international expansion.
Kane Pirie, thank you very much for appearing on TW Newsmaker.
Thank you very much.
It's 36 to 38 degrees Celsius. No higher, no lower. It's soft, but not too soft. It's just enough to smooth things out. It's all of this, halfway to anywhere, with plenty of time to spare. The Qatar Airways Premium Terminal in Doha. 5-star service for first and business class passengers. Qatar Airways, the world's 5-star airline.